The taste of expensive Merlot turned to ash in my mouth as my brother's voice cut through the dinner party chatter. My lawyer has already drawn up the papers. From this moment, this house is mine. The crystal stemware in my hand suddenly felt heavy, alien against my skin. Across the table, relatives froze mid-bite, forks suspended between plates and parted lips. My brother didn't even blink when he turned to address our assembled family, lifting his glass higher. She is no longer welcome here. Laughter rippled through a few relatives, the kind that cuts sharper than words. My husband's lips curled around his wine glass, unmoved, sipping like Betrayal was vintage red. My best friend, Laura, squeezed my hand under the table, nails digging into my palm to remind me I was still flesh, still breathing. My name is Olivia Turner, I'm 29, and once believed family was my sanctuary. This is the story of how I reclaimed not just my home, but my power from those who thought they could rewrite my life. The room swam in murmurs, clinking cutlery, and the quiet cough of Uncle Patrick pretending not to notice the unfolding drama. My brother Ryan, in his tailored suit, basked in the center like he'd rehearsed this scene for months. I watched him, and instead of rage, I felt something colder, something that hummed beneath my skin. Calculation. This was my housewarming, my walls, my furniture, my story. And yet, in one practiced sentence, he painted me as an intruder. I wanted to stand, to scream, to rip the smugness from his face, but I didn't. I counted instead. 3, 2, 1. Silence descended, thick and consuming, the kind that makes even chandeliers seem afraid to sway. In that silence, every eye flicked toward me, waiting for the explosion. But I smiled, just barely, a curve of lips that said nothing and everything. Inside, my chest burned with the betrayal of my own blood. The same brother who once begged me to hide his secrets in our childhood attic now paraded mine in front of strangers. My husband Daniel's stillness cut deeper. No defense, no outrage, just a sip. And Laura's hand, a lifeline trembling, telling me, "Don't fall apart." Not yet. In that silence, I learned something dangerous. There is more power in restraint than in rage. Ryan thought the show was his, but I had already begun writing a script he would never forget. Because silence is the loudest countdown, and mine had only just begun. The silence didn't break me. It broke them. Cousin Michael cleared his throat too loudly. Aunt Teresa shuffled her chair, and still Ryan grinned, mistaking the hush for victory. His glass caught the light as he swirled it, savoring the moment. "Don't just sit there," he said, almost taunting me. "You knew this was coming. You've always been the guest in your own home." His words were arrows dipped in years of buried jealousy. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I felt Laura's thumb press against mine under the table, a steady rhythm. Stay still, stay sharp. I studied the room like a battlefield. The uncles leaned back, arms crossed, pretending neutrality. The aunts whispered behind napkins, their whispers rising like smoke. And Daniel, oh Daniel. He leaned casually against the chair, half smile pressed tight, eyes avoiding mine. He was too comfortable in Ryan's shadow, too complicit. Inside, my pulse raced, not from shock, but from clarity. Ryan's declaration wasn't spontaneous. This was rehearsed, a script drafted not only by my brother, but backed by someone who knew my weaknesses, someone who stood closer than blood. I lifted my glass slowly, matching Ryan's rhythm. "Interesting," I said softly, my voice low enough to make them lean in. "But tell me, brother, when did you start trading loyalty for signatures? Was it before or after you borrowed money you never repaid?" His smirk faltered. Just a flicker, but enough. My words laced the air like cracks forming in polished marble. Laura tightened her grip under the table, a silent cheer, a secret promise. "I'm with you." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, sensing the spark of something bigger than a family quarrel. And in that moment, I realized Ryan wasn't the only one who had prepared for this night. Because sometimes revenge doesn't arrive in thunder. It begins in whispers that cut deeper than screams. And I was ready to whisper louder than anyone had ever doubted. His smirk cracked barely, but I saw it. That flicker of panic he tried to bury beneath arrogance. He set his glass down too quickly, the sound ringing sharp across the table. "Don't twist this," he snapped. Everyone here knows you've been reckless. Someone had to step in before you destroyed everything." The audience leaned closer, hungry for drama. My chest rose slowly, deliberately. I didn't rush my reply. "Destroyed everything or built something you couldn't stand to watch me own?" Gasps fluttered. The chandelier light shimmered on a dozen shifting eyes. Ryan's jaw tightened, but his gaze darted first to Daniel, then to the papers folded neatly in his jacket pocket. That's when it struck me. Daniel wasn't silent because he was neutral. He was silent because he already knew. My stomach tightened like a knot pulled too fast. Betrayal had a face, and it was the one sipping wine beside me. I glanced at him, forcing his eyes to meet mine. He looked away first. Confirmation. The silence turned heavier, like storm clouds pressing low. Laura's hand trembled against mine, but not from fear, from fury she couldn't show. "Let me be clear," Ryan continued, voice rising. "The deed is signed. The lawyer will confirm it. This isn't yours anymore." His certainty was rehearsed, but the tremor in his tone betrayed him. He wasn't invincible. He was cornered by his own lie, and everyone in that room felt it ripple. I leaned forward, my voice barely above a whisper, the kind of whisper that forces people to stop breathing just to catch it. "You may think you've stolen my house, brother, but you've only built the stage for your own unraveling." The chandelier flickered once, as if even the electricity held its breath. The countdown hadn't ended. It had only sharpened, and I could feel every pair of eyes waiting for the next explosion, not realizing I held the match. The match burned in my hand, invisible, but scorching. I let the silence stretch until it felt unbearable, until the room itself leaned forward. Then I spoke softly, deliberately. "If you truly believe the deed is yours, Ryan, then why do your hands shake every time you mention it?" His fingers froze mid-gesture, trembling against the stem of his glass. A hush swept through the guests, their gazes snapping to the tiny betrayal of nerves in his posture. He tried to laugh it off, but the sound came brittle, hollow. Daniel cleared his throat. "Finally, enough," he said, too calm, too rehearsed. "This isn't the place for family drama. Everyone came here to celebrate." I turned to him slowly, my eyes narrowing. "Celebrate what? My home, or the illusion that loyalty still lives under this roof?" The words sliced through the air. Daniel flinched just enough for me to see it. That was the moment the truth became undeniable. He wasn't just complicit. He was invested. Across the table, Laura sat rigid, eyes blazing, though her lips never moved. She squeezed my hand once hard, like she was passing strength into my bloodstream. And it worked. My fear died into something sharper, cleaner. Focus. "Tell them, Ryan," I pressed, voice steady. "Who funded your lawyer? Who fed you the details of my mortgage, my accounts, my weakest points? Was it you alone?" His eyes flicked just for a second toward Daniel. It was enough. The room gasped like the collective sound of masks slipping. Ryan's smirk returned, but thinner now, stretched too tight. "Careful, Olivia. You've always had a wild imagination." I leaned back, smiling faintly. Imagination builds stories. Evidence ends them, and I assure you, I have both. The chandelier swayed gently above, light scattering like fractured truth across polished glasses. Every guest sat frozen, caught between spectacle and revelation. And in that fragile stillness, I knew the tide had turned. The housewarming party had transformed into something else entirely. My courtroom, my battlefield. The unraveling had only just begun. The cracks widened before my eyes. Ryan's voice faltered. Daniel's jaw clenched, and the guests shifted in their seats as if sensing they were no longer partygoers, but witnesses. The chandelier light gleamed on every wine glass like a gallery of judgment. I let the weight of their silence press harder. Then I tilted my head, smiling as if amused by a private joke. "Do you remember, Ryan, when we were kids and you begged me to hide those report cards, the ones showing you'd failed the same class twice?" His face flushed crimson. Murmurs rippled across the room. He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak. "You've always been good at hiding your failures behind louder stories. And now you've dragged Daniel into your theater. But tell me, who benefits most when I'm gone?" The question hung in the air like smoke. All eyes darted toward Daniel. He set his glass down carefully. Too carefully. His lips parted, ready to defend himself, but nothing came out. Laura leaned closer, her voice low enough for only me to hear. "They've underestimated you. Keep going." I looked back at the crowd. Family isn't just about blood, it's about trust. And tonight in my home, you've shown me exactly who trusts betrayal more than truth. Ryan tried to laugh, but the sound rang false. "You don't have proof, Olivia. You have stories, and stories won't save you." I lifted my glass. "You're right. Stories don't save me. They save the people who hear them, the ones who finally see the mask slip. Proof, though? Proof destroys." A sharp knock rattled the front door. Every head turned. The timing was flawless, almost cinematic. Ryan stiffened. Daniel froze. I rose from my seat slowly, my dress brushing against the chair legs, and smiled at the room. "Proof," I whispered, "always knows when to arrive." The knocking came again, louder, demanding, and in that sound the stage I'd been waiting for cracked wide open. The knock thundered again, louder this time, rattling the silverware against porcelain. Every guest's eyes followed me as I crossed the polished floor, my heels clicking like a gavel striking wood. Ryan's voice rose behind me, sharp with panic. "Don't open it, Olivia." That panic was all the confirmation I needed. I walked across the room to the door, feeling every eye follow me. Last week I'd noticed unusual activity on my accounts and had my lawyer investigate immediately. When we discovered the forgery attempts, I arranged for the evidence to be delivered during the party, knowing Ryan would make his move tonight after Daniel had revealed my financial details to him. I pulled the door wide. Standing there was a courier in a dark suit, a leather satchel slung across his chest. He adjusted his glasses and spoke with practiced calm. "Delivery for Miss Turner. Legal documents. Sign here, please." A ripple tore through the crowd. Ryan surged forward, face paling. "That's mine," he barked, snatching for the envelope. The courier recoiled, eyes narrowing. "I'm afraid not, sir." "This package is addressed to Miss Turner, verified by ID." His hand extended toward me, steady. I signed, my pen slicing across paper like a blade. The courier placed the sealed envelope into my hand. Heavy, certain. I thanked him, and as the door clicked shut behind me, silence reigned. As I returned to the table with the envelope, the silence in the room was deafening. I walked slowly, savoring the dread spreading across Ryan's face. Daniel sat rigid, sweat beading along his temple. Laura whispered, "Open it." She had been the one I'd called immediately after discovering the suspicious account activity, which was why she'd made sure to be by my side tonight. I tore the seal. Inside were copies of my deed, notarized, stamped, indisputable, along with correspondence from the bank. Every payment traced, every signature aligned, and then, tucked neatly at the back, a revelation. Forged attempts. Ryan's name. Daniel's signature. The air turned electric. I laid the papers flat on the table, the evidence gleaming beneath the chandelier light. "You wanted a stage," I said softly. "Here it is." Gasps surged like a wave. Ryan lunged forward but froze when every pair of eyes locked on him. Daniel's lips moved as if to explain, but no words formed. He looked smaller now, swallowed by truth. And me? I didn't need to shout. My silence carried more weight than any scream. The housewarming party had become a reckoning, and the reckoning wasn't over yet. The room pulsed with tension, every breath shallow, every glance sharpened. Ryan's hand hovered over the papers like a thief caught mid-act. Daniel leaned back, eyes darting between me and the damning signatures, as if searching for an escape route invisible to the rest of us. I straightened, letting the silence weigh heavier. Then I spoke, calm, measured. Forgery, conspiracy, betrayal, all dressed up as family concern. My voice trembled not with fear but with power. Tell me, Ryan, how long did you think this charade would last? Until I moved out? Until I collapsed under the shame?" He stammered, words tumbling without coherence. The confidence had drained from him, leaving only raw desperation. It wasn't supposed to go this far." Aunt Teresa gasped audibly. Uncle Patrick muttered, "Unbelievable." The party had become tribunal, and Ryan stood accused. I turned my gaze on Daniel. His stillness betrayed him more than words. "And you," I said, my tone sharper. "You knew. You let him feed on my trust while you poured my wine." He shifted, finally meeting my eyes, but all I saw was cowardice. "It was just business," he muttered, weak, the excuse of a man who'd already lost. "Business," I echoed, my voice breaking into something colder. "Marriage is not business. Trust is not currency, and betrayal is never profit." Laura released my hand, rising slowly to her feet. Her voice cut through the haze. "You've both underestimated her. That was your first mistake. Your last was assuming she wouldn't fight back." The crowd stirred, emboldened. Whispers grew into judgments, judgments into verdicts. Ryan shrank beneath the weight of eyes, Daniel drowning in silence that condemned louder than words. I gathered the documents, pressing them to my chest like armor. "This house doesn't belong to you," I said clearly, firmly. "It never did. But tonight, everyone will remember it as the place you lost more than walls. You lost me." The chandelier swayed, its crystals clinking like applause from the universe itself. And still, one final act remained. The final act unfolded, not with shouting, but with quiet clarity. I stood at the head of my table, the papers spread before me like a crown reclaimed. The same guests who had once whispered doubts now stared at me with a different weight in their eyes, respect, even awe. Ryan's shoulders slumped, his bravado leaking out with every second. "Olivia, listen," he began, but the words cracked. Fragile. He wasn't the conqueror anymore. He was just a boy caught in his own trap. I lifted the deed, holding it to the light. "You tried to erase me, but the truth leaves ink you can't wash away." My voice was steady, each syllable slicing deeper than any courtroom could. "This house is mine, my life is mine, and your betrayal has no place within these walls." The guests shifted, nodding subtly. Even those who had stayed neutral now leaned toward me. The tide had turned, and it was irreversible. I looked at Daniel next. He wouldn't meet my gaze, his hand tightening around his glass until it trembled. "You chose silence when your voice could have mattered," I said softly, "and in silence, you revealed who you are. So tonight my vow is simple. You will never share my table again." He swallowed hard but said nothing. That silence was his confession. Laura slipped her arm through mine, grounding me. Her presence was proof that loyalty still lived, even when blood and vows crumbled. I turned back to the crowd, my words quiet but resolute. Let tonight be remembered not as the night I was betrayed, but as the night betrayal lost. The chandelier above gleamed brighter, scattering light across polished wood and shattered illusions. Ryan lowered his head. Daniel shrank in his chair, and the guests began to rise, some in support, others in shame. I pressed the papers against my heart, and for the first time that evening, I truly breathed. The weight lifted, replaced not by rage, but by clarity. Betrayal had built this stage. Justice had closed the curtain. 2 weeks later, after meeting with my lawyer, the divorce papers were finalized. Daniel signed them without protest, knowing the evidence of his forgery attempt would only make things worse for him if he contested anything. As for Ryan, he faced legal consequences for the forgery, 6 months probation, and a hefty fine. The family gathering had provided a room full of witnesses to his admission of guilt, making the case against him undeniable. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.